First map in the best of 3 lower finals. At one point, I saw a Twitch chat saying that YFP should forfeit. You know, things aren't going well. Okay, well, they're looking to make flavors out of all of y'all. That's going to be a triple OT to get the win in the end. YFP, I mean, Jen, going into this, like, yeah, it looked rough at first, but just give them time. We get to the side swap all as well.
It started off 6-0. I don't blame Chad for thinking YFP, but why? You know, like capital on why? Because they felt very laid back, very chill, very Sunday-like to just kind of play such a passive defense on B. And NBG just took full advantage, flashing in. Just every kill had a causation to it, had a util, a concuss, a relay, something. And it was Alum just really carrying this roster for a lot of the reason, but it was a team effort from NBG until YFP took their first timeout. They were able to put a couple of scratches in on their defense. You have a 9-3 half, and then YFP did their impression of NBG and had their version of an aggressive, really relentless offense that went on their own win streak. So I'm glad YFP woke up and smelled the coffee later on in the map.
Yeah, Twitch chat, basically, we're just bandwagoners for YFP and also not watching the history of the games of NBG. Again, a very weak side defensive half for both of the teams, yes, for sure. But this should have been a much easier momentum NBG second half. Definitely starting 9-3, you know, in your half on your defensive side, but also on your map pick. That should instill a lot of confidence for you to be able to close out that map, just like they did against Rankers when they had a 7-5 lead going into their defensive side. And just suddenly, YFP is able to come back. And thankfully, for those that stayed a YFP fan from the beginning to the end, well, you saw what Stellar was able to do in the clutches, what Jake was also able to do as somehow an entry. And for everybody that's, you know, harping on Penny all the time, he popped off in those key moments too for the YFP to win.
Yeah, it was crazy to see like the little adaptations as well coming out from YFP, and it was a Knifeblood Gaming at some points just like, again, going back to this being their map picked, it kind of looked a little lost against this YFP that all of a sudden is popping off, Jen, and is rough. And when YFP is shooting, I mean, it is a team that can get it done. They can't be disrespected in that regard, even if Alum's on the other end popping heads.
Yeah, just the offensive util from NBG was so strong. And Huin especially started off the map like 11-3. Just had an insane mechanical performance. But then when NBG went on defense, you didn't get this maximized delay with the deadlock, just throwing a bear into showers, turning your brain off, calling it a day, because a lot of the time it would be shot and then you'd be wondering what's happening in showers. Don't know, don't want to peek it. While as I felt like there was better delay from YFP side when you have a Viper, the way they were playing around Jakey's wall and the way that Stellar was able to get information off of his flashes. I think the defense from NBG got a little bit weak because of the deadlock and where you were going to place your flashes, which a lot of Kess was on the B side where YFP hit the A side a lot. So
yeah, I think that was fine too, though, because on one end you have, you know, the standard Sky play on the B side to get information for either team. Anybody that plays really at this composition that has a Sky in there, most likely will have the Sky playing defense on B. But I think a lot of the Hail Mary was trying to leverage an operator not only on a limb in the second half, but also trying to have Quinn use a glass cannon operator on the defensive side in OT. And those Hail Marys, they whiffed. They just missed the mark because there was just still great scaling and good reads somehow from YFP, the calls from Physics, potentially even some input from Stellar that tells them that they're able to avoid a limb every single time towards the later half of the second half when it's avoiding the op or even avoiding a limb's position himself. They had so many like fast tempo hits of being like, okay, well, we scaled this much. We haven't seen any pressure coming in from a limb yet. Let's just rush into the site, and they win for the numbers.
I mean, we're talking about Quinn on the highlights, but the attacking controller that I wanted to talk about, fans, we got to talk about Jakey a little bit more here, because this was someone that was just getting it done, whether it was going and trying to get one of the first kills of the round, some of these lurks, just these in-back kills. He was crazy heading into the second half.
Yeah, and if you remember Jakey when he was playing in Cloud9 over at the VCTs, he's definitely the type of player that could be very hyped up, or somebody that shuts down a lot too, or used to shut down a lot. I feel like he kind of changed also the mentality going into Challengers too, where, you know, at some point he retired, but then it's like, hey, I'm not going to retire. I still feel that I have a lot of Valorant in me that I could play, and I think that also changed his mentality of how he approaches games. When it comes to these moments where he can't really, you know, shut down as much as he can on one side, he's not giving up, and you've seen the pressure and the value that he brought to the team in that second half, and the amount of openings that he was able to take for a controller on the attack side when you still have a Raze that could satchel in to create that space.
I thought Jakey was really good at using short nades in order to just throw them right at where the enemy thinks he is, instead of throwing it behind them or in deeper lines. You kind of saw like right in front of U-Haul. In the montage, you saw it right inside of showers instead of trying to bounce it out or anything like that. Jakey was good at taking things step by step, not overcooking, and taking things slowly. And that's how he's able to win all of these duels, and why it makes him why he's able to use that experience that he has in this game to give YFP an edge.
And this was a game that almost really did end up differently. I mean, we had all these OTs, but Vans, the one round, Nightblood Gaming, they had this opportunity to close it out, and YFP just played spoiler to that.
Dude, I'm still shaking my head. I mean, that the first, again, the slide from Alim on that 1v1 against Penny, understandable, because Alim's slide contact that he's been doing all game has been very, very good. But then somehow, nobody there to trade, nobody grouping up, nobody saying, hey, Penny's isolated here towards the spawn. Let's just try to make sure that we keep him there, or at least if we let him go towards the spawn, the rest of us could just TP as a group and really pinch it against Stellar. So the decision-making going into that 2v5 was not that great. Fireballups did as much as he could on that 1 versus 2 inside that site. He probably could have won that fight against Stellar, but Stellar was just, again, using great util to fight in that 1v1 against Fireballups. But for the rest of the team, dude, that was some, unfortunately, some communication that slipped through the cracks that forced them to, and didn't allow for them to close that map and let that slip, and now morale is super down in my eyes.
Yeah, and for YFP, that's a momentum to take forward into this next map. That first map, that was Nightblood's gaming pick, and now we're heading over into Sunset, something that, Jen, we've seen YFP be quite strong on. And from Nightblood Gaming and Anzo there, the momentum loss of that last little bit, just the fact that this is not their map pick, this is a scary prospect.
Especially when this is a pretty heavy ban for NBG in the past, and this is a very common pick for YFP. But this is also a Penny playground, I think. Penny in at ALM with the Neon, but I think Fireball especially will be comfortable. We highlighted the Sentinels as we go into Agent Select. He is a master of Cypher, and I think this will be a comfortable map for NBG.
Again, with these two teams heading into our Agent Select, I'm always looking at our Sentinel players and our duelists, the people that are trying to get it done, the people that are trying to stop them. But fans, when we saw YFP play last too, Stellar on this breach, the utilities, even his team, like, it was top-notch performance from YFP.
I think Stellar just in general as a breach has been looking very good yesterday as well. They even changed their composition from a split where he was playing Viper and went back to a breach, and his util for sure is very good at that moment. They have great opportunities to take advantage of Nightblood Gaming, where I feel that for NBG, they haven't really taken too much of control on middle, and also played it very passively in terms of information, because most of the trips for Fireballups were inside the B site. So hopefully they iron out a little bit of that, because that rankers were fully able to take advantage of that matchup against NBG with that, and that's where they start things off first too on the defensive side. So they have a chance once again to drive the momentum in their favor if they're able to capitalize here on these rounds.
Well, it's an opportunity for Nightblood Gaming now to try and bounce back from that first map. Lower finals, it is do or die. Can they take it to a map 3, or if YFP close that out in 2? Time for Sunset.
Let's get right into the YFP map pick of Sunset. We're expecting a Neon matchup, but it's going to be a difference of initiators. And Physic, that IGL, he loves Sova, one of his most played agents. They're really going to be leaning on his util, these early recons, these early drones, to see where YFP could set the pace at.
Feels like they want to go for a very aggressive B main crunch here for the defensive side. Fake eye, they could run it down with a fault line, and that's just a trap play to try to guess it out. So it starts off that way to seize instead. It doesn't catch Physic, but it does allow YFP to tempo up towards A.
Wow, good reaction out of YFP to just completely retreat, sensing this forward push and the numbers. YFP must think this is the weakest site, and they guessed it right. There's a leftover Cypher cam, and NBG could utilize that to see who is still left. YFP have already a crossfire ready at elbow. An A cut. Paranoia cuts through them. NBG step forward to take advantage. The first peek is from Jakey, and he still managed to handle that pressure well in a 1v3 until his reinforcements emerge from the Cypher cage placed. And Penny at 28 HP. The damage that he could. He regroups with Stellar in the 2v3 for our first pistol of Sunset. And it's a spike planted. YFP just have to wait this out, and it's Stellar that can't hold on anymore.
Not this time around on a 1v3 when the players are actually ready this time on your peaks and they were ready to go for immediate trades. But you talked about it, the great pivot from YFP, tempoing up towards the A site, but also just NBG reacting on the counterplay of YFP in the post plant. The fault line to delay, Jakey had a perfect paranoia. It actually blinded two players behind a limb to isolate that 1v1 and win that against sorry, not a limb, but to win against a triple push. I think he won that against Kess. But then it came down to a limb sliding down from shops. Instead of focusing on Stellar within the site, they just wanted to make sure that they cleared the surrounding before in order to capitalize on that pistol round win. That's what they needed, at least, to start this second map. And they'll continue with the momentum, with the confidence to push down here towards the A side, potentially even control the orb if it starts getting quiet here in the mid round.
NBG just always want to get the jump on these rounds, and this is a lesson they did not. Well, now it pays off if it's just going to be a Neon running by, but it's something that YFP have been patient to play against. That's how they won the last round of Bind, is YFP just holding an angle and NBG swinging out. But NBG are going to try and have more purpose behind all of these moves. Look at this wraparound from Thief. The back of market, it's all timing against Sogo, and he wins it against Sogo, and now NBG turn their heads and deal with every threat in front and behind. It's just Physic in a 1v3. At least he knows where one is, but tough task with the Stinger, but coming from behind is a place you wouldn't expect. Trying to react to at least that player that's sitting in the smoke
30
on his
seconds
left side, but has now corners to clear. One shock bolt, but utilizing that util would reveal his position. Finds at least the neon and manages to at least get the kill with the shock, but it's NBG always with these hot starts.
Yeah, that was actually a buy coming in from YFP. You see that the money's broken, so you thought it was going to be, hey, a great amount, great damage being done, but they're not going to have anything for this third round. That said, though, the attempt that they had, I think it was just a fault line off the tap of an orb, but when they realized that there's nobody taking control of the orb, they're like, well, let's still try to gamble it and try to push through. So I like the forward position from a limb on the defensive side to avoid that fault line and just get a free kill on the one-ways being thrown by Win. So great communication and teamwork for NBG in that last round, which was not the communication that was there in OT. But now Penny's trying to open up the space here with a Bucky close range.
Wow, that hurt, but not enough apparently. Sturdy plot armor. But still YFP will go ahead and capitalize on that, even with the Oda just spraying through the smoke. And NBG is still walking through the hail of bullets. Doesn't matter. The trades favor YFP, but it just barely 11 HP for Stellar in a 2v1.
It's not winning this. He's got a Judge and a Frenzy. They're pinging weapons on the ground, but that's a big decision. If it picks up a weapon here, he gives a sound cue away. So he's going to have to play Ninja with a Stinger. Or a Frenzy, rather.
Yeah.
Shadows traveling.
See what he can do. He's already been revealed. And now YFP can just play time, especially if Stellar is to carry this through the bonus round. No need to take risk if you're YFP. Just spraying through the smoke will be enough. Eventually someone has to peek. Stellar will go for it.
It's time anyways. He wasted too much time.
It's a few more old orbs for Win, but a YFP that don't let NBG carry anything through.
This is just sheriff kills that they're getting here for YFP. You had a Bucky that was your strongest weapon. Firebullets continues to be an anchor towards the B side. That's what we're praising him for here during the pregame, saying that he's such a good player as an anchor player on B side of Sunset. But he can't do everything on his own when everybody else is losing fights to duels. Thief again with a sheriff to open things up. He was also another player that popped off for YFP on Sunset on these eco rounds and these thrifties that they're carrying over this time around as well. So that just summarizes pretty much this game where everything's back to normal. YFP, they win their gun round. The bonus round is not the best. And that was a chance here for NBG to string a couple of more rounds together. But getting caught like that is going to have them hesitating on how they want to play the defensive side.
And Cass is going to spot some action over in mid. Maybe signaling Alum to hold this angle. Have Huin throw the paranoia if needed. To just assist on this kill, but it is a fault line that clears out that neon, and Penny races against it. Can't catch up. Now it's an opening pick. Taking care of that flank. YP re-clear through mid and want to take advantage of the chaos, and Penny takes their wins where they can, and YFP go for a risky back map push that Jakey wins a big double kill on. And now they could wrap around B and signal to the spike once they clear the site to plant, and Penny knows where the last member is.
Dude, that was such a good stun coming out from Sogo, though. That should have been a free kill from Win, who picked up the Vandal and tried to take down Penny, and fully stun, unscathed, wins that fight. And now Alim is just going to look for the damage, and Penny's starting to feel it here in the second half, or the second map.
Yeah, to go up against Alum after Alum just had a warm-up map on Neon. Penny to switch things up. Penny may be a player that's very flexible, maybe prefers the Raze and the Jet, but is flexible for a reason, can adapt to those faster styles, but knows how to slow it down and just hold the angle and play to the information that you have, which was that duel against the other Neon at A main. IP went for a pretty risky back map push though, but it still worked out with where the smokes they had.
It's also still Jakey pushing top mid, so it's not too bad, and you're playing anti-eco. So I like that they still were able to gain a lot of that space because of the pressure that was being added from NBG on the A side. Speaking of the pressure on the A side, Lim pushing down, breaking the camera with a classic. That's got to be a tell potentially here that there's going to be an operator out holding out towards the A side. So YFP pivots back. They're already going back for a mid to B split. Going up against here Firebullets once again, who's very good on an anchored role. And he's going to keep a forward position to try to fight here on B main.
YFP just have to spot out this trip while YFP carve their way through mid. It's Sogo. Now his position revealed. You won't have a fault line on the B site, so it instills confidence in YFP, who step forward off their neon push. And it's Physic that covers their tracks too with a great shot in market. Neural theft advantage for the offense. Just trying to tie a bow on this round. Getting one last ping, and I'm surprised Steve didn't want to take some early shots, but it's just gonna decide to cut them off. But Alum with the overdrive wants to turn this all around, and he still has the op, but now has to take a big risk against Penny, and the op gets taken away, and YFP still close out the round.
That is so unfortunate. Once again, NBG throughout 2 maps so far, I don't think we've seen a single op kill that came out into the investment that we're putting into that to try to cover the A side defense, but to get into the site that they did for for YFP for that kill that happened onto Kess, I feel that potentially they saw Kess just before the smoke bloom, and Kess did not see them, and that was a easy pick off here to not allow any Odin spray on the attempt of a plant at the default spot inside B. And I think the Odin buy is a good buy actually to counter on Sunset on the defensive side when you're holding your defensive half. But it seems to be aware here for YFP. Broken economy once again for NBG, and back into a mid lurk. And this is what we were mentioning before. These lack of control on the top middle will allow Thief to potentially come in.
Big hit on Penny. That'll definitely slow them down. And wherever they pivot to, I don't know if you can rely on Penny to find success on the initiative. The spike is ready on the right side, and now the neural theft is gonna ping Huynh to know that there's an offense coming his way and insert himself well with the Buckies. Not an elbow, but right as this Neon skips by, Huynh also has the element of this smoke to make it so he doesn't have to deal with the full flood from YFP. And they hesitated following Penny in his shadows.
Off your feet!
It's YFP rolling thunder, knowing who at least Huynh just killed Kenny is on the sides, but NBG just play full retake, and it's a thrifty.
A thrifty flawless and the ping into the spawn with you saying, why the hell is Fireball Ups in CT spawn winning a fight against me at that spot? That was really everything. The tipping point here that allowed NBG to snowball and just literally ski down the hill and get that victory for Nightblood Gaming on the thrifty. A flawless one on top of that. Because the first kill allows the neural theft to get so much information in that spot. You had enough stall, and from the pings, Huynh felt comfortable in the position that he was in the Bucky. And that is going to be one of the things that we mentioned before. How do you clean up the gap here of the defensive side that you're not really holding down against rankers? They play all the way back towards spawn to win this.
Penny, a little madge after that encounter with Huynh, and
Right there.
wanted to try and capitalize on knowing NBG usually have someone in the A site, and YFP activate the overdrive and haven't found anything. Now it's the retake from NBG off the Nightfall, still with flashes. Paranoia from YFP to slow down NBG and blind them. And YFP stand and deliver off of NBG flooding in off of a Nightfall that they don't even know who hits. Nightblood were completely caught off guard, but 3K from Huynh to save the day, as it's just Thief in the smoke at 31 HP. That has to keep this spike and this round alive, and it's not gonna work. A huge turnaround from Huynh.
Wow, Huynh once again just comes through and gets the backstab on so many different players. It looks so good for YFP on how they countered that Nightfall that came from spawn. Hunter's Fury went straight into the line, knowing that, you know, he's at least going to try to catch the fade because of that Nightfall. Does get the ping onto a limb, gets the information on the second team, and allows you this forward position to come up for YFP. But Huynh dancing around the smoke somehow to be able to get all those picks allows NBG to crawl back in that fight. And I love the play to just push down on middle and long B, because you're already putting all your eggs in the Nightfall retake play. That was already drafted from the beginning of the round. And it was going to be chaotic for sure, no matter what, and NBG pulled through.
Still a good buy for YFP, just not full shields. It's YFP that have cleared a lot just to get into B main. They put Jake in a position to plant. Now just hoping to get back into short. The YFP barely have site control. It's Huynh that joins the fight with his ult. As NBG begin their retake, through market, through backside, shooting through smoke, not knowing where YFP could be playing from. Spike will draw YFP's attention, and you know they're all playing through main. And can you really wait for the smoke to dissipate? NBG are getting so lucky, just barking at the other side of this, all this obscuring. And it's YFP that can keep the spike alive long enough.
Bruh.
And trying now, the defense gets desperate. They step past the smoke, and as the dust settles, it's just Stellar with 10 HP.
Somebody in the communication say, hold on to the spike, get at least a halfway. What kind of delays did you really have? Maybe the first aftershock that came out from Stellar and the camera that came through, but you're basically trying to play Bunset spray from B main on the attack side, and it was already a nice integration from NBG to even throw a one-way smoke instead of a smoke just on A main so that an Omen cannot TP on the top and surprise some players. So everything was well blocked for NBG, but somebody's please stick on that spike. After you finally have somebody committed onto that, the smoke was about to dissipate. They still got some wall bangs across. It didn't fight through, and that's another NBG slip. At least they still have econ, and they have map control, pushing a player up all the way towards B main, and that's one part isolated. Now they also have players more incident on the top mid, so they could utilize Kess's utility on Prowlers, on Haunts, to see if there's going to be any mid-rounding towards the mid. And now, seeing none of that, they can get ready for a fight into A, but unfortunately they're not. Nice shot by Physic.
Ooh, Fireball. Wasn't able to capitalize well just now. Oh, I thought he was going to be flooded out by YFP, who heard the shots from Box and didn't react quick enough. Neural Theft now is out for NBG, something YFP could have prevented. But at least the spike is planted, so YFP have the element of time. There's a fault line as NBG go around these boxes. It's been tough for them to retake, even with utility and ults to favor NBG. They just haven't had good angles, but Sogo, now with vision on the site, has to play the swing well. The flash gets both, and he gets one kill. Now a Rolling Thunder Aftershock pushes him out. Flash, see if he can get it halfway. He knows he doesn't have the window to capitalize on. A 1v1 is possible, and it's Stellar that Rolling Thunders to prevent the defuse, and now Sogo doesn't have time. And both had Rolling Thunder, but only one comes down. It's Stellar that benefits for YFP.
Yeah, and smart at least for Sogo to keep his, because he knew that the counter Rolling Thunder was going to come back, and then he was just going to lose on time, so he was going to just waste it anyways if he threw it out. But Stellar, this is 2 rounds in a row that he's helping out YFP clutch out these rounds. Again, the mishap that happened in the front of that B site on 2 rounds ago, it was like you're breaching your Neon, not really pushing for it to fight back into B main, but Stellar was able to capitalize off that and just get sprays through smokes, kills through smokes, and then a 4K on top of that, and then now winning this 1v1 to allow YFP to take the lead. Again, similar storyline as, you know, we're just yapping as a broken record. A great start from NBG. I think this was like 4 rounds in a row that they've gotten, just like they did on Bind. And then boom, we see the comeback here from YFP. The difference is this time around, YFP did not have to spend a timeout in their round number 4, or their round number 3 rather, because it was still a shorty round, or a thrifty round, sorry, that they're able to win in that round number 3. So pardon me, they won 2 rounds in a row for NBG by getting pistol in second round. But nonetheless, the story still remains that YFP is definitely taking advantage of NBG's lack of information and communication to work with each other to capitalize on these rounds.
Nightblood using that timeout to also talk about how they can leverage this hero vandal and what they can really do after they get the map control, because they pushed up Alum in B main, and then what? Then YFP took advantage of the right side. So NBG need a plan B, need to take map control with purpose. Now with this forward smoke, NBG want to get a surprise close encounter with YFP. Now multiple layers of smokes to get through, and a good concuss from the defense. And YFP managed to keep themselves alive despite Penny getting concussed in the smoke. It's when they get shot through, weakening this B hold, and Alum couldn't even get a decent trade, couldn't even try to even up the numbers. And now YFP will get a safe plan, all depending on if Kess wants to be proactive from Market. And the backside is clear, Market is clear. YFP have all the problems coming to them.
At this point, the timeout with the hero rifle. I mean, for the next round, you can still go small shields and rifles. So you're trying to do some damage. And it's a flawless for YFP on top of that, with 2 more rounds to go in the first half. And this is not looking good here for NBG. I mean, trying to push forward there. One camera being set by Thief in the front of the A orb. Was able to spot 2 players right there and saying, hey, they're trying to play aggressive up towards this A side. We need to push up here and weaken out towards B, especially when we got the first ping from the Owl drone or recon dart from Physic on to a limb, and they're able to do just that. I mean, you're playing an anti-eco. You stayed with the numbers. You know that it was going to be maximum a 5-on-3 with better weapons for your end. So it's a clean round that you see coming through from YFP. Back into a round now for NBG, trying to play a contact off the camera. So going back into the tried and true, something that's been drafted up so many different times by different teams, and they're just trying to fall in off the tiles. If they spot some feet, YFP already understands this, so they're going for the safe play. Owl droning towards the middle, late pivot towards the A site, yet they're walking up tiles.
NBG finally with some mid-map control. Gonna at least catch them pivoting. YFP firing back. Then BG with map control and purpose and good swings, but YFP is quicker on these headshots, and a neural theft for Thief should spell where YFP need to plant, which is obviously where they already were. Now a sense of security, paranoia, rolling thunder though. Here comes the defensive retake as YFP just play anti-flash. Paranoia is huge from Jakey. And it catches NBG on the flood back in. It's just clinical for YFP on the post plant.
Yeah, Jakey's flashes are so good throughout this half, but you see that slight difference here that comes out from just an Allen drone from Physic up towards middle. That position that Win took just behind the pillar towards middle, they needed him for NBG to be at that spot, because without the Omen, you can't really paranoia into the trap play that you're trying to do with the camera. So when you're going to fault line down and try to slide through, there's still going to be some stun players, but everybody could see it coming from miles away, and they're still able to immediately punish a limb. So that slight difference really broke the defensive setup here from NBG and allowed YFP to move forward now as a 7-4 scoreline. Three-round lead. And back into a mid-control that you know NBG is not going to go for the same trap play because he got totally owned the previous round.
Oh, YFP, it's an exchange. First blood for Penny. Catching Alum on these forward walk-ups. NBG haven't been able to profit from that aggression, the way that they were able to kick off Bind previously. At least with these smokes, YFP are forced to use util earlier than expected. Not being able to get as deep of clears with that drone to B, knowing there's a Guardian ringing around in B. YFP have that to work with, but the spike is still going towards A. An overdrive from Penny to clear the way, but it's so good that shoots that down so quickly, even with the Hunter's Fury ringing by. YFP have still put the red carpet down to get a spike down quick. Fireball and Kess have maybe a Nightfall to work with if Kess could get a kill at range, but through all the smoke, he's just not getting lucky.
Cage triggered.
They're going to have to go for it no matter what. Last round of the half, Guardians against 4 rifles. You could just delay on one side on the attack and set the crossfires for the rest, and that's how clean as it could get.
8-4. Very strong offensive half, but I mean, we said kind of the same thing about NBG when they had such a hot start to Bind. We're like, wow, YFP should forfeit. Not that I would tell NBG to forfeit here, but are they going to be able to have a strong offensive half the same way YFP did, the same way they did on Bind? They seem a lot more decisive when they could just open their strat book up and play the game they want to play. We'll see how they can leverage that fade to get around these trips and get around all these corners that Jakey likes to sit in.
It's so unfortunate, too, the amount of times that, you know, Nightblood Gaming are playing the same maps throughout the whole tournament. They're playing Bind and Sunset again, just like they did against Rankers yesterday. And the weaknesses from NBG on their attack side against Rankers, if I remember correctly, is the lack of, like, market and top mid control coming out from their end. They're doing a lot of, you know, not necessarily split, but control on extremities. It doesn't really pan out when they're actually going for a real hit. They have pressure coming in from a second entrance.
Oh, the concuss! Oh, YFP. We're almost able to set up Jakey for a first kill. And what did I say about these funny corners? And Jake being there. Still did damage to NBG, so it wasn't fruitless. But it's NBG, no one being sent. Elbow, that's still a question mark.
Oh, no, he didn't.
I destroyed.
He's pinging the feet.
Pinging mid.
Finally, he gets seen.
Wow, NBG decide to wrap all the way around to get ahead of this retake before YFP could line up the dice. NBG, plant. The 4 versus 3, and it's a scramble in mid that profits YFP, and now that'll allow them the flood with Stellar, who I guess doesn't really need any help. Still has a flash. Kess avoids 1 and now 2 blinds. But the spike is smoked off, and this is going to be held with a frenzy on of bullets in the tank, and it's YFP with pistol.
I just love it from NBG walking up towards shop, though. They had the timing onto Thief, who was still staring at his camera. And as he was looking back towards shops, the top of the head of Kess actually was speaking out. But it was so focused on pinging the feet at the bottom of middle that there was an opportunity for NBG to pivot up and move up and get the pick. But after the camera looks back, spots him, he at least gets 1 for his trouble and really doesn't allow NBG to get that surprise attack back into a D8 side split so that Stellar could get to an easy 2K with his ghost. I mean, this guy continues to be so good here as in an initiator role. And for this round, the camera spots the Neon pushing forward for Penny and short aim. Let's try to fight it.
NBG, no, there's just been either one or two at this site. NBG just wanted to have power numbers, and Penny gets the last laugh and pulls the Sova over at A as YFP reinforce. NBG still committing through elbow this time, taking different angles, having Sogo ready to flash in sight if needed, or even on the other side of the smoke once NBG are ready to flood in. Smokes dissipate, trigger about to be pulled for NBG. Or sees nothing yet in mid.
Hard for them to get into sight now with no wall. So it's just going to be on Win with the shorty in the smoke.
Well, it explodes Penny and it works out for NBG, but damn, huge kills for YFP coming through that A cut side, and NBG tried to shelter an elbow, and it's a 1 versus 1.
Spike planted.
Now NBG just have to play time. And Sogo is not in a healthy spot with a flash. He could just play hidden, play off contact of that. Physic is the one who has to clear the box, the elbow, remain.
Full rep. I like this. This is a big opportunity for Sogo to win now.
Revealing area.
Should be able to hear this. Sogo timing. Physic isn't turning around.
No.
Oh,
No!
Oh my god. No. No, 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 no.
Oh, it's shooting Guardians and just, again, I'm going to repeat myself from yesterday's game. Just trying to shoot players behind the back in this game is just unlucky for you. And again, the reason why I say I love the wrap, he played the fault line out in the open of the site when he went for the plant. And then when you're going to re-clear towards short A, you have a thinking that he's going to play towards gate or he's going to play towards elbow. So Physic goes for all the info to use the recall dart at that spot. So the element of surprise was always onto Sogo, but he went for the ADS holding the angle instead of just walking in and capitalizing and guaranteeing the shot. But technically it should have been a guaranteed kill anyways, but we talked about the morale being very low since the first map, and now it shows.
Hell, NBG will still stand their ground and will go down kicking and screaming, just getting 3 kills off the rip off of a lighter buy from YFP. But this is an important round for NBG where the economy is buying down to 0. They need to conserve everything they can and have a flawless round if they can. NBG should be awarded this with an open sight. Will be a market cut from Physic with the Guardian. Where Alum is pretty low, but oh jeez, just this wave of bullets. Dodges the Haunt at least. Physic has been snuffed out. Shock Bolt, hoping to catch the planter, wasn't where he was. Prowler to clear back sight. NBG crossing a T's, dotting the I's. And looks like they want to save their weapons. Well,
just
Deep
damage,
isn't,
just
but
damage.
Physic is.
Yeah.
Physic is doing the longest wrap around, but
One enemy remaining.
They want to bring the economy to the next round. You don't want to save these for sure. He wants to make sure that there's nobody lurking around that can do some damage across.
longest flank ever, but they'll never expect it, but the spike gets stabbed and the firing squad show up. I was like, why is Physic going so far away from Thief? But
yeah, now
NBG got to keep most of their weapons at least.
Yeah, and a little bit of wind here blowing into the lungs for NBG to have a clean start out of the round against the bonus you just had from YFP, who were them trying to crunch back towards middle with the lower buy that they had. It was a nice little punish for NBG, just brute force their way through, win all their fights, and then also having a healthy buy in this round number 16. So that's the good thing about it. And NBG are trying to fight back against the continuous control that YFP is going to try to do. Again, this is them playing against rankers all over again. With now a little bit of a change. I like this fast change of tempo from a limb to pitch back against Stellar, but he doesn't get him.
We got a last second ping that he at least rounded the corner, but NBG just overheat. Just racing right after Alum, thinking they have to jump on YFP. It's who win in a 1 versus 3. You wanted to grab the orb and dip, I wouldn't have hated that play either. Just With still a minute left. Jakey's gonna spot him on the pivot out of boxes.
He could still do it now. I think that not going for the orb and walking up to get the kill would have been the best thing, because he'll have an ult no matter what, and he could still escape if he wants to. But now he doesn't want to give the... Well, now he drops and gets spotted.
Only so much you can do when YFP just play their lives. They play so safe. Now they're 2 rounds away from going to the grand final against Rankers.
Yeah. Another Hail Mary play. Another Hail Mary, play that was coming out from NBG. Almost, I feel there was a slight miss, though, because I don't think even the wall from a limb really went on the top of quad. So it could really go safely and pass safely back towards the shot. But all that is just small details. The main gist of it was that they went for the fault line and paranoia back into the short A, so that he could somehow get the timing from a limb with the slide across. But he bumped into a couple of walls, I think, as he was going through, and still got punished as he came across. I mean, there was so much util to support him, and unfortunately they couldn't capitalize on that. And as they were so hyper focused on being like, okay, where's my next set of util to help him? Where's my next set of util to try to get an opener? Well, Penny's holding around the corner at the elbow, and Judge, it's 2 players down. So that when nothing's working, it's just not working here for NBG. So last time out, but I think this is grim. This is YFP comfortable now. Big lead coming up towards him here in the second map.
At least you have a couple players from NBG that are still able to full buy, you know, util armor and everything. So there's ults to leverage, and it's Alum that has to go crazy. And everyone has to be on board with this crazy, but he may be enabled to help take control of mid. NBG haven't gone for a B push that cuts through market. There will be a trip there if they opt for that. Usually NBG have liked to go even towards the back of the map with mid control. A lot of options, all depends on where this opening pick could be coming from.
Trying to break util in the beginning. Here's one that's going to get broken by a limb. Another type to attempt here, a limb on the pinch from behind.
Wrapping around, and look who is on board with this, and with the ult gets a surprise on Physic, but Stellar holds the corner and kills 2, and NBG weakened to their 2 last players. 2v2 though, but with Penny still in overdrive. He's gonna have all the targets in his sights, and it's YFP match point, series point.
And not a good econ for NBG. Couldn't get the plat down for 300 credits across the board. Look at how abysmal this buy is going to be. That could have potentially helped into like half shield armors for a couple of players too, if they had those extra credits. And unfortunately, it's not. So they're going to have to try to brute force through with stingers. Thankfully, a rolling thunder maybe to help. Another Hail Mary, but it seems to be potentially just another crunch back into the B site. The breach is going to have to come up huge here to allow a limb to get an opening, but they've done such a great job for YFP to shut him down. A limb has been getting 0 value versus what he had on his Neon Bind.
Yeah, Penny has had a lot of first bloods over at A, limiting NBG's fruitful options, and now there's no smokes covering B main. It's one less obstacle. YFP have liked to have Jake in that corner, so NBG got to make sure they clear every corner with this one-way cage. It's very annoying for NBG to tempo up, but at least use the Prowler to clear any trips, and Alum may be tripped up just now and gets pinged through and still kills Thief. But Alum is getting chased down by Stellar, still with full util. Flash and fault lines. Gonna aftershock, force Kess into the duel. Double swing from YFP ends the day and the tournament for NBG. YFP will go to get their revenge against Rankers in the grand final.
And this is going to be another fun game to witness coming up in the grand finals between YFP and Rankers. But first off, it's not before, congratulating at least Nightblood Gaming for getting this far. Again, you're going into this tournament where, nobody knows about this team. Nobody knows about the players. At least I don't, if I want to be honest, except for Win. But they were still able to make it here into the third map. They were still able to make it, second map. They were still able to make it very competitive against all of their opponents. I'm going to give them some praise still.
Yeah, Sierra, do you give them praise? We didn't get the triple OT, but we had a very fun lower bracket final.
I think so. I mean, considering coming on into this, to echo exactly what Van said, I'm looking at the teams, I'm looking at names, and this is not probably where I would have predicted the bracket to be ending up. So to make it to this point, and like when I think back to the series, I will remember that fight. I will remember that triple OT. And I think it was just a little bit of that momentum, a little bit of that confidence just gone. This is still a relatively young team, having just been made about 2 months ago, just finding the last 2 members. So to make it to this point, Jen, I think that there is a lot to be proud of, and especially to going on forward, there is a lot of room for growth, and hopefully we can get to see that next year.
Yeah, NBG brought such fire to the start of these maps, but it's eventually YFP that adapt and overcome. NBG are so flank heavy, not going for market, always going through mid, wrapping around the site, taking angles around YFP. But YFP deal with pressure, and not just like the physical pressure, but mental pressure, how high stakes these scenarios are, and YFP are more likely to clutch and go through thrifties and stuff like that than NBG are. I still think these were very close rounds until the end where the economy got smushed.
Exactly, because when you look at it, who are they playing against? You're still playing against Thief that played at the highest level in Tier 2 so far with what we mentioned before, Moist Moguls and MXS. You have Stellar that made it into Tier 1 at 100 Thieves. Physic has been playing for the longest time in Tier 2, grinding into 2021 Gauntlet, trying to make it into Partnership or VCTs. And then Penny and Jakey also played pretty much at the highest level. Remember, Penny played for version 1 back in like Reykjavik in 2021. Jakey played in Cloud9 most recently. So when you look at the comparison, you're comparing apples to apples from experience, and one team from YFP versus NBG, you're definitely going to give it for YFP. But for NBG at least to make it competitive on their best map, although it has been losses against them, against rankers, it still shows that what they came and what they prepared, they could still put up a good fight. They just need to make sure that the communication is a little bit better so they can really close out these moments where they have a strong advantage.
And for YFP, I think this was a really strong way to be ending off this series, because this isn't done for them yet. This was the lower finals. Now they have to be moving on into that grand finals to be going up against what I dare to say is like the best team that we have here in stage 3, at least what they've gotten to show us so far. So to be able to win the Sunset, something that a map that we've praised them for in the past year, Jen, I think is great, because that momentum and that confidence, I think, is what they need to go toe-to-toe in that grand final match.
Yeah, what YFP need to do is to be flexible. And with the experience that they have in the game, they could play any agent, any scenario, any map that you throw at them. But they're also able to adapt to what is being thrown at them. Heavy flanks, these kind of unexpected, aggressive barrier down pushes from NBG. They've handled that very well. And to also build confidence, because the first couple of rounds of YFP at the start of Bind was very slow, very, let's figure out what NBG are made of. And then YFP crafted a solution from there. And that's what I like. YFP are very intelligent, and they take rounds to build up to that, to blossom to that point. But you can't doubt YFP and their comeback potential.
Definitely not. We've seen it. We're probably gonna keep seeing it. There's a lot to be done here. As for us, it's gonna be a short break before a quick interview with YFP, and then get the grand final started. Stay tuned. 2-0 victory. YFP are on to the grand finals to go up against Rankers. And on the line for a quick interview, we have none other than Jakey. Congratulations. I'll make it real fast. 2 quick questions. First off, kicking off that series, triple OT on Vine to take the win. Where was the adaptation to try and make sure you guys could come out on top? And do you think that momentum helped you going into Sunset?
I mean, it wasn't much of like an adaptation for us. We just know that Bind is one of our weaker maps, especially on defense side. We've known that from scrims and stuff like that. So we just knew to trust in our calling and play together as a team. And we were probably going to come out on top if we just were pretty much perfect since we only had so many rounds to spare. So it was just like a really good way for us to kick our confidence off for the series.
Fantastic. And I love to hear about that confidence now, especially going into this grand finals. You're going up against Rankers, the team that knocked you down into this lower bracket in the first place, and one of the more unorthodox teams that we have here in Challengers. How are you feeling about this grand finals and this rematch that you have ahead of the team?
It's going to be tough since they got to watch us play all the way here. So, I mean, even if they watch that, they're probably just a bunch of ranked players, so they're probably just playing for fun. They got no pressure playing at home, so I think they're just going to play for fun, and we have to adapt to their playstyle fast, otherwise we're not going to win. But I think we could do it.
All right, well, I'm definitely looking forward to you two playing. Hoping we get a 3-mapper. Best of luck in the grand finals, Shaky. I'll let you go get ready. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I cannot wait to get this grand final started. But of course, we have to give YFP a quick moment to rest and get everyone in the server. So we're going to be taking a break. It's you an opportunity to get some snacks, and we're going to be right back.
They say in life, there are no guarantees. They say a lot of stuff like that. Slow it down. Play it safe. Hedge your bets. So what? You gonna listen to that? You gonna stop because they can't guarantee you'll pull this off? No guarantee you'll win? No guarantee everything's gonna be fine? In life, you make your own guarantees. Nobody else will light your way. Start your own fire and keep it burning. And we guarantee you'll have one hell of a lifetime.